Introducing our first speaker today. He is our day-to-day attorney that helps us run our organization. Well, he's over here. And he is also a member of the Board of Firearms Permit Examiners. Please help me welcome Fred Fishline.
Good afternoon. A year has passed since those things were passed, and there's so many things that I can say today. But I've reduced my thoughts to a poem. It is springtime in Connecticut and all through our state. Politicians are scurrying, it's never too late, to show off their new gun laws. Their imaginations don't bore, while those that actually follow them are seen to the core. Pisano, McKinney, Yaccarino, to only name a few. Last year they shredded the U.S. Constitution and the Connecticut one too. They still have no idea what they actually voted for, but their knee-jerk reaction is really hard to ignore. Law-abiding citizens now trying to understand why Hartford thinks them criminals with their wanton demands. It is comply or jail the legislature did propound, while telling the public, don't dare make a sound. We know most of all what is better for you. Those black guns, they're scary. Take them away, boo-hoo. How dare you ever think you deserve so much might? We will take them away, and you hence will not fight. And as the long lines gather to the DPS door to register the items that our legislature swore it would take it all out on, but the evidence was quite clear. It is those in Hartford that we should all fear. Although elected to represent us, their ignorance does confound. It is the voice of you people that really must resound. Get rid of the traitors on both sides of the aisle. I'll promise you this, the children will then smile. They have awakened a beast, one with a great roar, and hopefully next fall we will even the score. As we vote out of office those knee-jerk politicians for their condescending actions regarding our munitions. And so as I close this most timely poem, I hope that you all let the words within roam. It is scary when forced to look at your leaders with fright. But now on to November and keep that ballot box in sight. Thank you, and God bless America.
This person actually helped to train our lead attorney for the lawsuit with firearms. He took time out of his life, and I think that we should give him an opportunity to come up here and speak today. Please help me welcome Doug Dubitsky.
Hello, my name is Doug Dubitsky. I have something to read to you. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights. Unalienable rights. That is one of the main precepts upon which our nation was built. That is the foundation of our country. The government didn't give us our rights, so they can't take them away. Yet here we are. Here we are, thousands of people, thousands of Americans standing shoulder to shoulder. Our rights have been stripped from us.
How did we get here? How did we get to a place where the basic tenets of our country say that our rights are unalienable, and yet we're standing here without our rights? I'll tell you how we got here. We were lazy. We were lazy. We were a little too comfortable that our rights would be there always. And and we're sitting back and saying, we've got our rights, we've got our guns, nobody's going to come and take these away. And everybody kept telling us, they're not coming to take your guns. And some of us believed it. And what did we do? We sat back and we didn't do anything when people who didn't believe and don't believe in our basic tenets of government,
that these are unalienable rights given to us by our Creator, put people in office that also didn't believe that.
we sat back and let others control how our rights were affected by legislation. We sat back and watched as our elected officials decided that they didn't believe that our rights were unalienable. They believed that government gives us our rights.
And government can take them away. So what do we do about it?
Send them home!
That's right. What we do about it is we stop being lazy and we decide that we are going to be the ones that put people in office. We are going to be the ones that stand up and say, these are our rights. These are the rights of every person standing here. These are the rights of every person in every district in this state, every state in this nation. We have to do the work. Because the people who don't believe what we believe are doing the work against us. You may have heard the people who put this law in place are forming a super PAC to fight you. We need to do everything we can to make sure every day, every week, every month, and every year for the rest of our lives that we are standing up and protecting those rights because they do not protect themselves. And if we get lazy, and if we sit back and are comfortable with our rights, the people who do not believe in the basic pretense of our civilization in the United States are going to keep incrementally creeping in, putting people in office and taking away those things, those rights that millions of people have died for over 200 years. So what do? We find good candidates and we get them to run. And if we can't find one, we run ourselves. And we find people to support us. And we don't just talk among ourselves and whine on Facebook that things are going badly. We have to actually sacrifice a little of our time, sacrifice a little of our money, sacrifice a little of our effort, and go and knock on doors for your candidate. Put some of your money into his or her campaign. Actually, coming to these rallies is great. Talking to each other is great, but we have to spread the word to people who are not coming to these rallies. There are still an awful lot of people out there who are gun owners and gun enthusiasts who have no idea that this law was ever even passed. We need to make sure that they know and that they work with us to protect the rights of everybody in this state and everybody in this country. My name is Doug Davitsky, and that's what I'm doing, and I hope you do it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Please take your hats off. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jane Roberts is going to come up and sing the national anthem for us. Oh, say, can you see
pale after twilight last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You want our vote?
How's that a way to start this rally off, huh? I'd like all the oath keepers in the audience, please come up with us on the steps here at the moment. Oath keepers are a nonpartisan association of current serving military, reserves, National Guard, veterans, peace officers, firemen, who have sworn to keep their oath, the oath that they took. That along with citizens who will stand by us and help us support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. Foreign and domestic. Right now, what the oath keepers do, we've all taken an oath to support this nation. Going to give you the opportunity to either renew the oath if you've taken it or take it for the first time. So please, again, remove your hats, raise your right hand. Don White, the acting chapter president for Massachusetts, is going to administer the oath for us. Wherever Don is. Oh. After I say aye, please state your full name. I, Don White, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, pledging my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor. So help me God. Oh yeah! I wanted quickly to read one quote that I thought was so appropriate, especially today, especially in Connecticut. It was taken from a letter by George Washington to James Madison. Very simply it says, "No morn ever dawned more favorable than ours did, and no day was ever more clouded than the present. Wisdom and good examples are necessary at this time to rescue the nation from the political impending storm." George Washington. Again, we have to be calm, we have to be vigilant in what we do. God bless America.
All right, thank you all for coming out today. We got anybody here from outside of Connecticut today? Let me hear ya. West Virginia Citizens Defense League here.
All right.
Mississippi Carry. Scope from upstate New York. New Hampshire. Massachusetts. Vermont. New Jersey. All right. I know there's a lot of other states. I can't count them all. There's 57, right?
Get some filmage going. I've already got some
Again,
good
thank you all
stuff.
for coming out today.
I left my camera.
My name
I
is
left my
Scott
stand,
Wilson.
though.
I am the president of the Connecticut Citizens Defense League. I am proud to stand before all of you on this day. We are marking 1 year since the governor of this state essentially made the Second Amendment a privilege and not a right.
Good to see you.
That does not sit well with any of us. Last year, during the legislative session, Governor Dan L.P. Malloy referred to us all as the fringe of the fringe. This was the label that a sitting governor attached to people that go to work, pay their bills, raise their children, and pay their taxes so that they can try to live in peace. This year, Governor Malloy made the claim that our side lost and that we should just get over it. I don't know about you. I am only not over it. I am madder than hell. This failure of a governor makes this statement as if Public Act 13-3 is some sort of permanent fixture of a law that can be never changed. That this law can never be repealed. That a law that is passed by this legislature and signed by this governor is the final word of how we must live.
No way.
This governor and too many in our state legislature seem to feel as though we must just sit back and be quiet and accept this as our ultimate fate while they poke at us and rattle our cage doors. This Public Act 13-3 was passed at a time when the legislature and the governor were facing a lot of scrutiny for their poor decision-making in many areas outside the realm of firearms. A tragedy in a small quiet town in Connecticut gave these lawmakers tremendous cover for the dismal condition of this state. Gun control was a fig leaf that concealed their disastrous failure. Up next, we have a father from Newtown, Connecticut. Please help me welcome Bill Stevens.
Brought a little sign with me. A lot of us parents in Newtown, we formed a group. A lot of us support the Second Amendment, and not only do we support the Second Amendment, we exercise it. We are Newtown, and we choose freedom. I was going to invite some of my friends from Newtown, but there's such a huge crowd here. I think maybe about like 20, 25, I think. Using my Chris Matthews glasses, there's about maybe 100 people here today. But as I said before, there's only there's a small fraction of the many Newtown residents that, like me, we were certainly heartbroken over what happened in our town, but we strongly oppose the legislation that was signed by Daniel Malloy last year. And as we all know, it wasn't the AR-15 that killed 26 innocent people in my town. It was a mentally ill shooter who pulled the trigger, and this law does nothing to address that. But we all know it was never Malloy's intention to solve the real problem. All along, it was how best to exploit the tragedy in Newtown in order to advance their liberal gun control agenda. After a recent setback in courts, as Scott said earlier, Malloy told a resident at a town hall meeting, "Your side lost. Get over it." Yeah. Well, Governor, let me me give you a refresher on Article 1, Section 2 of the Connecticut State Constitution, which reads, all political power is inherent in the people. And all governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their benefit. And they, at all times, have an undeniable and indefeasible right to alter their form of government in such manner as they may think expedient. That's really what it says. So, Governor, our side lost. Get over it. There was a guy named John Paul Jones who once said to the British, I have not yet begun to fight. But Malloy had some help up here at the Capitol. Help from an oath breaker, a guy named Senator John McKinney, who now wants to be our governor. I think he's Russian because he's got a funny middle name. It sounds like Musko. John Musko McKinney. He says we don't need more than 10 rounds in our guns. So-called high-capacity magazines.
Standard capacity!
Well, John McKinney, you've been a politician for more than 10 years, and in my book, that's high-capacity politics, and we don't need you. Speaking of high-capacity magazines, I can't remember how many rounds I put in here this morning. Was it 10 or more? I forget. Well, maybe John could come over to my house and demand that I show him how many rounds I have in my magazine. Come on over, John. The German Shepherds will give you a nice warm welcome. Instead of chewing on deer bones, they can chew on a rhino. Come on over, John. You know where I live. And thanks to the Sipsey Street Irregulars, we know where you live too, John.
Second Amendment Society. And why are we here? Because we want to show our support with you guys. We're standing here together with our brothers and sisters from Connecticut to show our support, and we want you to know that we see you as the vanguard of a movement which is spreading across this nation as we stand here today. As you know, we have our own problems back in New Jersey. They just are trying to push through a 10-round ban and a lot of other very bad legislation. But you know what? Our KBA is something that crosses all state boundaries. This is a republic of individual states and individual people. It is not a nation it is a nation of laws, not a nation of whims. While each state may have its own sovereignty, none may vote away the inalienable rights of the people. And the chief right among these rights is the right to protect one's life and freedom, and the right to protect and defend one's family, loved ones, neighborhood, community, state, and nation against any attack, regardless of whether it comes from a single criminal, from a gang, or from a government which no longer respects the rights of the people. This is not just a political battle, it's an existential one. We as a people have a choice to make. Do we give up our rights to repel the initiation of the use of force against us, or do we exercise the pre-existing rights our founders so carefully enshrined in the Constitution and the Second Amendment? One choice will lead to slavery, and the other to freedom. It is astonishing to me that we even have to make this choice. Proponents of gun control, a lie that we all know is code for people control, they'll say, well, we only want to limit your rights. We don't want to take your guns away. All we want is reasonable regulations. To that I say, the only reasonable regulation that gun owners need to follow is, do not use your guns to initiate the use of force against your fellow humans. We don't tell people what books to write, nor do we tell them how many words they can use. Why do they believe that they can restrict the type of weapons that we can use to defend ourselves, or the number of rounds that we can have? They will tell us, well, restrictions are necessary. After all, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Well, putting aside for the moment whether or not that's actually true, you certainly can yell fire if the theater is on fire. Well, we have a fire right now, and it's one that's been consuming our right to keep and bear arms little by little over a period of many years, and it has to stop now. So what do we do about it? Well, the first rule of triage is stop the bleeding. We cannot give up a single drop more or they will bleed us dry. When it comes to freedom and family, there is no room for compromise. Even without the Bill of Rights, we know that we have the individual right to keep and bear arms to protect our families and our freedom. We don't need the government to grant us those rights, and we certainly won't allow them to take them away.
That's right.
That's why it's important for us to continue to grow this organized national grassroots RKDA movement. We are the boots on the ground, and we need to make sure that they hear us coming, and we need to make sure that they hear us saying, we will not comply. We will not comply. We will not comply. We will not comply.
We will not comply. We will not comply.
Thank you.
We find ourselves here today not because of defeat, but because of victory. If it weren't for people just like us that stood on perhaps this very ground over 200 years ago, we'd be like everyone else from virtually every other country on the planet, disarmed and at the mercy of anyone intent upon forcing his will on the masses. We, however, are not the masses. We are Americans. We are not disarmed, and by God, we will never be disarmed, so long as the birthright of freedom and we will never be disarmed, so long as the birthright of freedom burns in our hearts like it did for our fathers and mothers that went before us. Make no mistake, the victory the first Americans purchased has lost a great deal of its value due to the inflation of governmental intrusion in our lives. It is time, no, it is beyond time, to recognize that this last greatest bastion of individual liberty, the United States of America, teeters on the brink of darkness. A government that once was formed to promote and protect natural, God-given civil rights that have existed since the beginning of man is now used as a weapon to destroy those rights. A government that was created of, by, and for the people is now used as a battering ram against we the people. When we exercise the right to free speech, we are targeted by the IRS. Our privacy is violated every day when our cell phone data is collected and stored in NSA computers. Our homes and lands are stolen and given to private developers, courtesy of the Supreme Court. We are harassed and criminalized simply for exercising the right to keep and bear arms that is enumerated in both our federal and state constitutions. With freedom like that, who needs tyranny? Our ancestors are watching us, sitting in the gallery of history, waiting intently for their descendants to make a stand of their own. They are wondering if we have the fortitude to gather on village greens like they did so many years ago. They were ultimately forced to pay in blood when men with guns were dispatched to seize arms and ammunition from their communities. They paid the cost because they understood the consequences of complying. We might not be standing here today had they done otherwise. We have been conditioned since childhood that we are great because of our democracy. Hogwash. It's our commitment to freedom that sets us apart. Democracy is three people voting on who gets to be the slave. Liberty is having a Second Amendment to fall back on when the other two decide you lost. While America was never intended to be a democracy, as we've come to see, our representative government can be corrupted just as easily as any other. No, we are great because we were forged in the freedom of the individual to live and worship free from interference, and generation after generation protected that liberty with force and threats of force. Our forefathers understood that without the right to keep and bear arms, there is nothing standing between a free people and the wolves of oppression. Those that sit in seats of power today are no more allowed to take our rights away than those who ruled 200 years ago. No legislature or court can morally or lawfully deem a man or woman free or slave, and neither can they deem any one of us standing on this ground a criminal simply because we keep and bear firearms. Should the government order its weapons to be trained on us because we own firearms, as Hillary Clinton is so fond of saying, what difference at this point does it make if those holding the guns are wearing red or blue? The intended outcome is exactly the same, and just because the pen that wrote the order is on this side of the Atlantic Ocean doesn't magically make confiscation and imprisonment for owning guns justifiable or legitimate. Fellow brothers and sisters in liberty, we all must decide where our line is drawn. Will we finally understand, just like Captain John Parker on the Lexington Green and Rosa Parks on a Montgomery bus, we have the power to say, no! It is up to you and me whether our liberty dies with us, leaving our children and their children's children to face the cold steel of government oppression without the tools our fathers sacrificed so much for in our behalf. Which future will we give those that follow? Will we enjoy the fruits of someone else's victory, only to now surrender because we somehow believe our lives are more valuable than those that fell so we could be free? Those that went before us are watching, and those that are yet to come are waiting for our answer. Ring the Liberty Bell and ring it loudly. Give our children the chance to deliver speeches on this very ground 200 years from now, proclaiming our victory. Stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon. But if they mean to have a war, let it begin here.
I am asking all the gubernatorial candidates that we've invited here today. There were four. Mark Loretti couldn't make it, who's the mayor of Shelton. But we have 3 gubernatorial candidates that are here today, and I would like you to stand up and be acknowledged by the crowd, because you are the hopefuls that we hope will get Governor Dan Malloy out of office. And when they come up here, we want you to all acknowledge them by giving them some thunderous applause. We got Martha Dean, Joe Visconti, and Tom Foley. Governor Malloy gone from office, it's more than likely going to come from one of these three here. Thank you very much for coming today. Now, at this time, if you are running for office in the state of Connecticut, and you are a pro-Second Amendment candidate, I am inviting all of you to come up here and stand before this crowd and be acknowledged. Please make your way to the front. You are our hopefuls. Come on up, everybody. Come on up. Don't be shy. If you're running for office, you can't be shy. And you have voted the way of gun owners in supporting our rights. Please step down here as well. Down here we have State Rep Rob Sampson and State Rep Al Gaddafi. Is that it? Ladies and gentlemen, these are our hopefuls here. Some of them are here today to stand up and support the Second Amendment. And I want to thank each and every one of them for coming out today. We only have a couple actual candidates for office that are going to be speaking, and we wanted to focus a little bit this year on some of the stuff at the federal level too. So one of our candidates here is running for the 2nd District Connecticut candidate for 2nd District for U.S. Congress. Please help me welcome Lori Hopkins Kavanaugh.
Thank you. Thank you, CCDL, for your relentless fight to protect us against criminal prosecution and confiscation of our firearms, for standing strong to protect liberties that law-abiding citizens have enjoyed in the state of Connecticut for hundreds of years. I am honored and blessed to share this historic day with all of you today, because this is the day those rattlesnakes will sound their warnings in voices that will be heard loud and clear. Do not tread on me. My name is Lori Hopkins Kavanaugh, and with your help, I am going to defeat Joe Courtney and take this seat. And I will better serve the liberty-loving people in the 64 towns and cities in the 2nd Congressional District. I am committed to restoring, preserving, upholding, and protecting our Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. It is comforting to know that we stand here together today in one of the safest places in all of Connecticut, because we stand strong and steadfast among gun-carrying, freedom-loving, law-abiding Americans. But since I am known to have a set of brass ovaries, here it goes. When it comes to the Second Amendment, I am Dianne Feinstein's foe. I am Nancy Pelosi's nemesis. place in the country because gun-carrying zones, not gun-free zones, are the safest places in the country. President Obama, rearm our military bases and stop the preventable slaughter. It is naive to believe that lawmakers who vote for more anti-gun legislation mean well or have our safety at heart. The progressives in this country who attack our constitutional freedoms and liberties are anything but dim-witted do-gooders living in la-la land. Make no mistake, progressives want to ban guns, and they will relentlessly pursue that goal one law at a time, one executive order at a time, one regulation at a time, until we are disarmed. The writing is on the wall and must be taken seriously because we are running out of time. They will take away choice after choice until there is no choice. No one can protect your rights except you. The Constitution is not supposed to protect us. It is, after all, simply words on a page. We are supposed to protect it. If you are not registered to vote and do not actively engage your friends, neighbors, and relatives to vote this November, you are giving away your right, and with them, all of our rights. Self-defense is an inalienable right that God gave us, and no government can take away. From one peaceable citizen to the thousands of others here today, I will fight beside you, and as your congresswoman, I will defend that right. Now, to all of the men standing here today, know that you are the brave and the strong. Heroes walk among us. But, just for a moment, please allow me to speak directly to the women in this crowd today. As a woman, as a mother, as a protector, I will not relinquish my right to self-defense and to the right to defend my loved ones and my home with a firearm. I stand for abused women who live in fear of an ex-husband or ex-boyfriend. I stand for the isolated woman walking to her car at night in a dark parking lot or returning home to an empty apartment. I stand for vulnerable women who is stalked by a co-worker or a customer. I stand for the woman who must protect her family and home against an intruder. I stand for the woman who simply wants to enjoy a quiet early morning jog in the park. Self-defense with a firearm of our choice, with a magazine capacity that we choose, is our right. The right to equal the battlefield and survive. The right to feel safe, knowing that every day we have a fighting chance of not becoming a statistic of rape, murder, kidnapping, or assault. I am Lori Hopkins Kavanaugh, and our crosshairs are set on a seat in Congress occupied by Joe Courtney. Courtney is against reciprocity. He is against recreation use of firearms on federal land. He is against a woman's right to self-defense. Courtney is Nancy Pelosi's pet, Obama's obedient servant, and Feinstein's friend. Courtney is a progressive lawmaker who said last week that in the wake of the Newtown shooting, he cannot support the Respecting States' Right and Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. Instead, he will work on the shortcomings of current background checks and more regulations to stop those seeking gun and concealed carry permits. Furthermore, Courtney said he would expand the scope of data for convictions of misdemeanors. He is hoping for widespread agreement. The way to show Joe that we do not agree is to vote him out of office in November. Help send me to D.C. I am Lori Hopkins Kavanaugh, the Congresswoman with brass ovaries, and I'm looking out for 2A. Like me on Facebook and visit me at LoriForCongress.com. And I am so thankful for your listening to me today. God bless you all.
a speaker, a young lady. She's a college student from the University of Rhode Island. Her name is Sarah De La Cerda. Please, let's help her. Welcome her.
Hello, how is everybody doing today? Awesome. I am Sarah De La Cerda, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the Constitution. Now, our Constitution was the first that gave power to the people by 3 words. We, the people, tell the government what to do. We, the people, are the driver. The government is the car, and we decide where it should go and by what route and how fast. See, this was truly remarkable because previously all the world's constitutions have been documents in which the government tells the people what their privileges are. The United States of America's Constitution is a document which we, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do. We, the people, are free, and we, the people, tell the government to stand down and stop infringing on our God-given constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Unfortunately, we have seen firsthand politicians exploiting people's emotions from horrible and malicious events for their personal political gain. We have seen firsthand the destruction of freedom. We have witnessed the outrageous gun registration lines here in Connecticut. We constantly are bombarded with more and more rules and regulation. The government is taking more and more of our options and more of our freedoms. There is a clear cause and effect that is as predictable as the laws of physics. As government expands, liberty contracts. I am so excited to be here today. It makes me think of that famous speech from Henry V. You know, the one where young Henry bucks up his troops before he leads them into battle? We are a proud band of brothers and sisters, fighting the good fight, a fight for the Second Amendment, and a fight for the Constitution. We are fighting the good fight, and I congratulate you all for it. You are the ones here to celebrate and preserve not just our Second Amendment freedom. This fight is about what kind of people we are and what kind of country we want to be. The struggle to protect our Second Amendment right is spotlighted once again. And I'm proud to say we are here to stand up to the political establishment and say you will not infringe on my Second Amendment right. Not now, not ever. As an American, this fight is about what kind of people we are. I want to live in a country that is exceptional and is strong, good, decent, and most of all free. You know, so what keeps me so optimistic? Keeps me reloading in this fight? Keeps us going in this fight and in this country that we love. It's the faces I see here today and the millions that are with us in spirit. We are in a fight with policies which lawmakers admit will not work, and they are considered the good guys. And yet, we do not give up. The Washington establishment smears at you, and you don't give up. The mainstream media just doesn't get you, and you don't give up. You don't retreat. Because this is a good fight, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm so honored to be here with all of you today. I ask you to stand strong, keep the faith, fight for our freedoms. And in the words of Ronald Reagan, always remember that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. God bless you, God bless Connecticut, and God bless the United States of America.
All right, it's time right now now we have speakers that are going to be coming up after our keynote, but we wanted to get our keynote in the mid-peak part of the day here, and he's got a great speech, and he is...
You start writing a speech and it's never done. I've rewritten it 3 times already this morning. And I just rewrote it again in my mind because I see this gentleman here with the flag. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the expression of liberty. Because look how joyous this man is. That's liberty. I've got a couple of housekeeping items that I need to get out of the way before I begin the official speech. And the first is to let you know that I brought a case, I smuggled a case in of high-capacity magazines. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have enough to share with everyone, but if you come see me afterwards, I've got a few, and you have to be force multipliers, though. You have to agree that you'll share it with other people. What I have is I have a copy of Concealed Carry magazine. This has at the very last page my review of a book by my friends Mark Walters and Rob Pincus, Lessons from Unarmed America. Wonderful book. I gave it total thumbs up. That's my policy. I never give bad reviews because it's not my place to rain on anybody's parade. If I don't like it, I just keep my mouth shut about it. This was a great book, and I'm going to be discussing today's rally tomorrow night on the nationally syndicated Armed American radio program with Mark Walters. And I look forward to giving them a wonderful report about how great this crowd is. And the other magazine that I brought is Guns Magazine, which I'm the field editor. I do their Rights Watch column every month. And this happens to be the one where I have written about what's going on in Connecticut. And again, I wish that I had enough to share with everyone here. I don't. I actually promised these as props to a young man I met up here. I don't see him right now, but I'll give it to him afterwards. There's a bit of sad news that I learned, and that was the passing of Otis McDonald, a giant in Second Amendment. This was the man whose lawsuit in the city of Chicago codified once and for all at the Supreme Court level that the Second Amendment, no, it just doesn't apply to the federal government. It applies everywhere. It's the supreme law of the land, and Chicago has to obey it just as everyone else does. I have a personal anecdote about Mr. McDonald. I met him a couple of years ago in Chicago at the Gun Rights Policy Conference that the Second Amendment Foundation puts up. And I told him at the time how honored I was to meet him, and I said, you know what? In my entire life, I've asked two people for their autographs. One, I was 10 years old, and it was Clayton Moore. Those of you who aren't old enough won't remember Clayton Moore. Those of you who do, the Lone Ranger. Okay, my boyhood hero. I met the guy, I got his autograph. Had never asked anyone for an autograph since then until I met Mr. McDonald. And we were standing in the middle of a hotel lobby. There was no real desk to write on, so Alan Corwin of Gun Laws actually graciously lent his back as the writing surface desk. And I've got a picture of that, and I've got Mr. McDonald's autograph, and it's something that I will treasure. And it's very, very sad news about his passing. This was a champion. And I think that we all just need to take a second in our hearts to remember the passing of a man who did a lot and that we owe a lot, that we'll never be able to pay back, but we have to just be able to remember him in our hearts with gratitude. Now, one other thing, I noticed that there are some people walking around bearing arms today, and I also noticed that some people are nervous by that. I don't get it, because to me, it doesn't matter whether you're wearing a firearm or a badge or a uniform or without. Okay, it's how the person behaves. So thank you for all who show up and give us the example of bearing arms, because it's more than just keep them. I'd like to tell you what an honor it is to have been asked to address this gathering today. It truly is humbling, okay? And it's humbling to be in front of all of you, and in spite of all the insults. I've read in the media some people have called us all some rather insulting names, and that doesn't bother me none. And I'd also ask you, before I get started in earnest, to please bear with me. I am recovering from encounters with my own mortality. So if I have to struggle with my voice, or if I have to take a sip of water, just please bear with me, and we will get through this. Okay, when Scott Wilson announced my participation a few months back on Facebook, it was pretty funny. He asked people, guess who the guest speaker is going to be? And when he got back, it was Ted Nugent? Tom Selleck? And people kept making guesses, and finally Scott goes, no, it's David Codrea. And when he got back, it was who? Yeah, really. Because it's true. I'm not a name like that. I'm not a rock and roll legend. I'm not a movie or a TV personality. What I am is I'm one of you. And I'm one of you who found his voice. And that voice, first and foremost, has been committed to spreading one message. I will not obey orders for Americans to surrender their arms. I will not obey. That's it. My position is personal, and it couldn't be simpler. You bet it's personal, because I'm the one who will pay the price for what I will and what I won't do. The Yankees, they can debate this all they want. To me, it's not debatable. They can pass whatever edicts they like, and I'll oppose them, and I'll fight them. Ultimately, my choice is that I'll not obey them. And I'm done backing up and compromising. Okay? It may seem funny asking some guy from Ohio, I heard they were asking who's here from the various states, and I'm here from Ohio. And it may seem funny asking me to come and address a rally in Connecticut. I would like to share I do have a connection. The part of the state I live in is called the Western Reserve. And that was once a portion of land claimed by the colony of, and later by the state of Connecticut. And as a matter of fact, my neighborhood in Hudson is called the Connecticut Colony. And the entire area is rich in history, including in the struggle against human slavery, which is really what those claiming the power to control you and dispose of you is all about. I live just around the corner from John Brown's old tannery farm, and say what you will about the man's tactics and his legacy, it does show that some conditions demand defiance if no other means exist. And that, of course, was the situation that led to the original War of the Rebellion against the king. People would not put up with what they came to view as the intolerable acts. Oh, they did for a while, until the damn fools came for the guns. Note that I did not call it the Revolutionary War, because the true revolution was ideological. The realization that free men don't need rulers, that the function of government is to secure the blessings of liberty, and that we, each of us, have certain unalienable rights endowed by our Creator, rights which cannot be legitimately taken away from us by a tyranny of the majority, as now exists in some areas that identify themselves by that most Orwellian of terms, progressive. And you know, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. I have a saying I use on my blog, The War on Guns Notes from the Resistance, that I've yet to see refuted. With progressives, every day is opposite day. Because what's progressive about telling others who are harming no one what they must and must not do, and what they can and cannot have? What's progressive about creating a whole new class of criminals, and I have that word in quotation marks, for refusing to obey edicts founded in ignorance, prejudice, and the desire to rule others? I wrote an article for Guns Magazine recently, that's the one in this issue here, in the Rights Watch column, and I titled it The Unconstitutional State. It's obviously a play on Connecticut's nickname. It started out referring to a line that you folks here are more than familiar with, the one in front of the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection building, where gun owners came on the last day of 2013 to register their guns and magazines with the DESS parados in order to comply with the perversely named Gun Violence Prevention and Child Safety Act. Making them do that was an intentional indignity. and that such legislation would do nothing to advance its stated purpose and would instead make things less safe for the law-abiding, that did not matter to those imposing their will. That was just another oxymoron that calculating minds right here in Hartford no doubt took additional pleasure in. Progressives, opposite day, remember? The vocal reaction now, this is the thing. You know, we've talked about the gun owners from other states, and you folks experienced the brunt of it. And it actually horrified me, because some of them was unsympathetic. They did not have to face the terrible choice that you do here. And there were accusations. There were people throwing around words like cowardice. And this was coming from internet commentators posting under screen names, and isn't that telling? And that making such charges they'd never been put to the test themselves, and that seemed lost on the most aggressive, that is the most ignorant and judgmental among them. And as an aside, I'd like to share something with you, that even though I'm an outsider, I can tell you that I know what it's like to be put to that test. Because I was living in California when they passed a law requiring us to register our assault weapons, okay? And I went to a meeting where the California Department of Justice distributed the registration cards. They told us that we had to fill out, and they used the keyword submit. That is, basically, it was a meeting where they dictated to us the terms of our surrender. Okay, well, I went with two of my friends, they're fellow troublemakers, and in front of hundreds, we tore up the damn card and told them in no uncertain terms that would be the only one they got from us. Now, we did it knowing full well we were putting ourselves out there for scrutiny and more. And I'll never forget this one woman, and I promised my wife, I had this written into the speech, she goes, oh please, in front of all those people, don't call her a cud chewer. So, okay honey, I won't. Okay. But she calls out, sir, they don't speak for us. And I thought, you know, yeah, I sure don't, lady. Remember I told you at the beginning, I speak only for me. Anyway, if you'd like to learn more about that, if you do a search on my name along with the professional face of evil, you'll get the details on that little encounter if you're interested in learning more. But it struck me then, it strikes me now, it's a hell of a choice to force a person to make. But back to some of these finger pointers who don't understand, who haven't been put to the test. If one is to be blamed on anyone outside of the evil citizen disarmament demanders, and what a word that is that the Bloomberg people use, and their useful idiot enablers, many gun owners would do well to look at the direction of three of their fingers whenever they point one at others. Because after all, how many of them have filled out Form 4473s or applied for permits to carry their guns? And truthfully, in light of shall not be infringed, those are acts of compromise and surrender. It is. So for them to be pointing the finger at you is absolutely wrong. But now what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you a practical example of something that I call profiles in apathy. I came up with that term years ago after watching worthy project after worthy project fall by the wayside due to lack of gun owner involvement. And I want to tell you why I think it's every bit the enemy that the most committed of gun grabbers are. Where's Lenny Benedetto? Is Lenny around? Okay, yeah, Lenny, founding member of the Connecticut Citizens Defense League, the folks that are responsible for bringing us all here today. They're the state's largest grassroots gun rights group. And as you know, they're leading in a lawsuit along with that RA to challenge the new law. But I don't need to tell anyone here that, because we all know. Anyway, Lenny spent several hours that morning passing out CCDL cards and talking to those standing in line before a police lieutenant ordered him to stop or be arrested for soliciting. And he soon found, this was amazing, that the vast majority of those in line were not members, and many had never even heard of CCDL. Let me ask you something. If CCDL had 10, 20, 100 times the committed membership, might the new laws have been stopped in their tracks? They were going to push it through no matter what, but if you guys had 100 times the people that were committed to work the polls, to work for politicians, to fund lawsuits, to do everything that's needed to get the word out, I submit we'd have a different picture. But it's the level of detachment, apathy, and non-involvement, and it's hardly exclusive to Connecticut, because the same story can be told by the leadership of any number of state gun rights groups, where it's always a core of dedicated individuals straining to barrel load that can be shared by many, but somehow it never is.
That's because we got jobs and the liberals don't.
Well, that's true, but you know what? We all have jobs. I submit that everyone who belongs to the NRA has a job as well. And we're the ones out there, but look at it. Of the 80 million gun owners, something like 5 million are members of the NRA. Look at how few have joined, how many fewer support much smaller groups like Gun Owners of America and the Second Amendment Foundation, or educational groups like Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership. This has to change, and immediately. Why? Well, what are we here for today? If a lot more gun owners don't get involved, perhaps the bold chat room warriors that I referred to earlier will get the chance to demonstrate to their brethren here in Connecticut how much better they'll perform when it's their turn to show the stuff they're made of. Yeah! So, what is it that we do? Okay? What is it that we do? First, we join with others, like we're doing right now. Look, if you don't like one group, find one you can support. You don't like lobbying, find a group that educates. That means support them, including financially. You know, we heard about the lawsuit. Very expensive proposition. And yeah, times are tough. I understand that. Times are tough on all of us. Do what you can, but don't let others who are also strapped do it all. What else? Some of you are going to be better suited to taking people shooting, training the next generation. I don't know, what is it that you find rewarding? What is it that you're enthusiastic doing? Do that. Some of you will find your talents best expressed in writing, and there's plenty of need to get well-written letters to the editor out there to correct the foaming at the mouth bias. But enough of the Hartford Current. Actually not. I told you I continued to rewrite the speech, and so this part here, I've got to bear in and make sure my ant fryers here are focused and get into my handwritten scribbling and see if I can decipher the ancient hieroglyphics that I call handwriting. Because by not, by calling for arrests and prosecutions, they've removed all pretenses to being about common sense gun safety. Okay, these are the people that Dianne Feinstein calls real reporters, Joe Biden calls legitimate news media. I call them fourth estate, fifth columnists. Yeah. And I understand that there was a cartoon and a little essay written by Bob Englehart. And he's got a wonderful idea. He says, repeal the Second Amendment, and that's going to solve it all. That's what this guy thinks. You know what? This guy is presuming to teach, and he doesn't even belong in a remedial civics class. I'd like to read you a little something from the Heller decision. It's always been widely understood that the Second Amendment, like the First and Fourth Amendment, codifies a pre-existing right. The very text of the Second Amendment implicitly recognizes the pre-existing, told you, hieroglyphs, of the right, and declares only that it shall not be infringed. And this is the Supreme Court saying, as we said in U.S. versus Cruikshank, this is not a right granted by the Constitution. Neither is it in any manner dependent on that instrument for its existence. This is our right, and this is something that the progressives don't understand. They somehow think that our unalienable rights are somehow privileges bestowed upon us by our masters in government. They think that's the way it's supposed to work. This, of course, is the UN theory of rights as well. You can have what privileges we say until we say you can't. Wrong. And in terms of Bob Englehart, anybody see Tropic Thunder? Okay, buddy, you went full Englehart. You never go full Englehart. Okay, here's one. Here's another little thing. You can get on the social media. All right? I know a lot of you turn your noses up that and you consider it a silly waste of time. And if all you're doing is inviting people to play Bubble Safari and sharing trivia and stupid videos, it is. But these are also utilities for spreading important information. And I think we've seen this recently in the Ukraine, we've seen it in Venezuela, the way that people get information out there. Think in terms of our being able to use it, command, control, communications, and intelligence. Because you better believe the other side is using this and mastering it. And if you refuse to, what you're doing is you're ceding an entire area of operation to them without challenge. And what do once they establish and secure a beachhead? They use it to launch their next and deeper assault. Don't give that to them. Make them fight for every inch. Now, some of you will actually enjoy politics. And if you're good at it, that can be a lot of fun. Thing is, we all know there's plenty of politicians who have a huge butt. Okay? As in, I support the Second Amendment, but. And then they come up with all kinds of ridiculous cop-outs and betrayals. And so I guess what I'm going to say is don't fall for charlatans. How do you know? You come up with ways to separate the wheat from the chaff and get them to unequivocally go on the record for where they stand, what laws they consider constitutional, why, and importantly, what they'll work to get rid of, because regardless of what some of them may have told you, it's not enforce existing gun laws, it's repeal the damn things. Now, true, politicians lie, no duh, but pinning them down with specifics makes that a lot harder to get away with. But then here's the thing. Say you find a good one. We've been introduced to some good ones here today. Will you let such a politician stand alone? Because it would be a lot easier for them to play it safe. If you expect them to take the difficult route and actually be leaders, you have to be ready to stand beside them and stand behind them. And this brings up another area just crying for involvement, one that's hardly glamorous or instantly gratifying, but one that's nonetheless critical if your niche is political, and that's getting involved at the precinct level. I'm over here. I will not obey. Getting out the vote and directing party choices. A friend of mine, Dan Schultz, has put together some real good information on this. Right now, he tells me over half the precinct committeeman slots are vacant in both major political parties in this country, and that cries for freedom-minded people to fill up those slots. And again, if you want to learn more about this, if you Google precinct projects and my last name, that'll get you to some links where you can learn a lot more. But now here's the thing, all this stuff I've just been talking about, it presupposes that we're living in normal times, doesn't it? And things are hardly normal in Connecticut right now. The state is trying to ram intolerable acts down your throats, and it looks like a critical mass of you are telling them that you're not going to cooperate, that you refuse to obey, and that you will not disarm. And see, that's the first step, even before fixing on what you will do, like join a group or engage in activism or participate in politics. We have to come to grips in our own minds with what our own conscience will allow us to do and not to do. And the rest of the gun owners, not just in Connecticut, but the truth is the entire country, are watching to see what happens here. And they're going to take their lead from you. From you. That's right, you. Because, let me tell you something. By virtue of the fact that you are here today and others aren't, guess what? Like it or not, you are leaders. Did you think that it's just us guys up here at the microphone with our names on the program? Remember how I started out this talk? I'm one of you. And remember how I said it's personal for me and I will not obey? I didn't say we, because I can't speak for you and I can't demand that you make a terrible choice that no one has a right to force on you and maybe pay a terrible price that no one has a right to demand from you. Only you can make that call. So speaking for myself, I can stand here in front of this monolith to the state and I can let them know one simple truth. I will not obey orders for Americans to surrender their arms. I will not obey.
I will not obey!
If you'd like to join me, if you'd like to join me, they'd like to join me, feel free to say it with me and let them know. I will not obey. Now, where does Governor Malloy hang out on weekends in relation to this place? No matter. I'll say it a bit louder so that he can hear. And again, those of you who want to, feel free to chime in. I will not obey. I will not obey. There's another guy now. There's another guy who needs to hear this, and that's the head hatchet man, Mike Lawler. This is the guy who said you can either surrender the weapon to us, destroy the weapon, or sell it to a federal firearms licensee. And after January 1st, if it hasn't been declared or registered, it's banned, and if you get caught, you're going to be arrested. In other words, disarm or he will destroy you. This guy thinks that's his lot in life. Well, you know what, Mr. Lawler? I will not obey. I will not obey. And there's one final guy that I'd like to give an honorable mention to. This is the enforcer from Brantford who wanted to give up a part of his anatomy because he couldn't wait to bang down doors. We'll just call him Nutty or maybe Lefty. Anyway, I understand he's on leave and maybe in hiding right now, so maybe this one ought to be just a bit louder so he can hear us. I will not obey. I'd like to leave you with a quote from one of my heroes, a great American hero, Henry David Thoreau, author of Civil Disobedience. One of my favorite quotes: I was not designed to be forced. I will breathe after my own fashion. Let us see who is the strongest. God bless you, people. I'm awed. Thank you.
Thank you, David Contreras. Check him out. Next, we have somebody who is a time-proven, tested state representative that has actually voted to support our Second Amendment rights. He voted during the last legislative session, not the current one now, but the last one where SB 1160 passed into law. He's also voted in prior ones as well. He is a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, and I think that's why in his district he keeps being re-elected over and over again. So please help me welcome, from the 103rd District, Al Aldenofi.
I guess I got to lower this a little bit. I'm here, I'm going to take a different aspect of looking at these laws that violate our Constitution. This time last year, despite the overwhelming pleas from you, me, and other taxpayers in the state, the majority party ignored us. The reason I blame the majority party is because it was a straight party line vote that refused to split the bill. This was 4 bills in one. Early release, which we don't like. We had school safety. We had mental health where it was needed. And then we had this awful gun law that came through. So we, on the minority side, put in an amendment to split this bill into 4 parts, which made sense. It was intentionally put into 4 bills so it would force people to vote against us. Had this bill been split up, I'm confident that we could have made amendments and so on to make this better. We have to avoid that in the future and get after your legislators, whoever gets in, and make sure they don't let something like this happen again, that we handle something as clear as this separately. And CCDL is working in areas like that to make any future laws that come out supporting us and our Second Amendment rights, which is very important. But the majority party didn't listen. They wrote it a straight party line. You can look at the screen and say, all red on one side of the aisle and all green on the other side of the aisle. That was wrong. I just couldn't accept it. But they didn't support us. Instead, they circumvented the democratic process and undermined all of us out here, the very people that elected him. I don't think I need to remind you that this is an election year. I can assure you, the administration and many legislators are now feeling the heat from their constituents. They have heard from us, and they are concerned. Keep after them. That's important. We must keep the pressure. Keep the pressure. And if you know how to get online, you can get in touch with every legislator up there. And emails are the best way. Letters get buried, but emails don't. So today, we don't come to mourn the loss of our rights or to complain about the slow progression into alienating both the state and the United States Constitution. No, instead we come to change the tide, to pivot from this decline in public policy and gain steam for our cause. We are here to celebrate life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, so that when November comes and many people lose their seats, they will know why. It's not like the warning signs weren't there. Those that supported our rights and freedoms now need your help. Every one of us in the House of Representatives, only 33 representatives out of 151 supported our gun rights. So I stand here firmly, and I'm trying to speak loud. I will continue to support our efforts. And when I'm re-elected, I'm thinking positive, I will keep on doing what I've been doing. I serve on Judiciary Committee, Appropriations, I'm on the Veterans Committee, and guess what? I'm ranking member on Aging. So thank you, and I'm very happy to see this large crowd.
All right, Al stood up for our rights. Let's let him hear it. That all you got? Come on. All right. Let's see. Up next. Is that your truck? What?
Free Justina!
Free Connecticut! All right, up next, we have a young lady. She is ranked as an expert. She is one target away from being a distinguished expert. She's a target shooter. She is 16 years old. Please help me welcome Sunshine Snyder Drysdale.
sophomore at Sacred Heart High School in Waterbury, Connecticut. I am in the top 10% of my class, and I have been a high honor student my whole life. I am a competitive swimmer, and I had the privilege to help my team to become Naugatuck Valley League champions this year. Personally, I medaled in the 100 breaststroke, and I'm currently the third fastest girl breaststroker in the Naugatuck Valley League. Oh, and I just joined track. I am a student, a swimmer, and an up-and-coming javelin thrower, but my most revered title is shooter. I have been shooting since I was about 10 years old, when I was old enough to participate at my summer camp. I started with air rifles and then moved up to 22s, which to this day is my favorite caliber to shoot. I didn't have particularly serious instruction on shooting when I began. It was just something that was fun and I seemed to have a knack for. When my family got their pistol permits a couple of years ago, my grandfather took us all up to the range one weekend. I distinctly remember my first time on a real range. The atmosphere of a range is a mix of control, clarity, peace, and safety. The familiar smell of gunpowder is a comforting smell to me because I know when I'm on the range, I am truly calm. I know for myself, shooting never fails to relax me, and it has also allowed me to hone in on concentration and focus, very valuable skills that have helped me in life off the range. Shooting has also trained me to be more aware of everything. The most important rule on the range is safety, and there can be no recklessness. It's fun, but it's safe fun, the best kind of fun there is. In the recent year and a half, shooting has become incorporated as a very important part of my life. Once stuff started going down, my mom jumped passionately on the Pro 2A movement, and as did I. Not because monkeys see, monkey do, but because I understood it affected me as well. I remember coming to the rally at the Capitol last year, and my shooting has come a long way since then. I joined the High Rock Shooting Association's junior club last March, and I shoot every Sunday with some of the best coaches and friends I've ever had for any sport. Wonderful coaching and my passion for shooting have led to my near completion of the Winchester NRA Shooting Qualification Program. I am one steady target away from becoming a distinguished expert in 22 rifles. I hope to complete it tomorrow, and when I do, I will be the third girl to have completed the program since it began 5 years ago. I am very proud of my shooting accomplishments, and while it is a huge part of my life, it is only very recently that I have started opening up about my sport to people that know me. I am in no way ashamed of what my passion is, but the negative connotation associated with what I love is not easy to shake. Because it is so familiar to me, I often forget how it is usually perceived. While I know that there is no one type of shooter because we are all individuals, I am aware that I do not fit the image that the majority of people associate with shooting. I have never gone hunting, and I am not a middle-aged man. I do not own a speck of camo, but I do have a special place in my heart for those that can rock it. I don't fit the stereotype, the false and unnecessary stereotype that has been formed in the minds of those who don't understand who we are. I wanted to speak today in hopes that I could highlight the most promising areas of the shooting population. I want to make people step back, take a moment, and think of whom they are affecting. I want to begin shooting in competition soon, which may help me to get a shooting scholarship that I can use to go to college. You are not keeping the guns out of those hands that you deem dangerous. You are keeping them out of the hands that have bright futures that may be entwined with that same rifle or firearm of choice. The problem is not the guns. The problem is the people. I believe very strongly in this. It is a proven, 100% accurate statistic that a gun cannot fire a bullet through its chamber without human assistance. This I can say with complete and utter confidence. If you have seen or heard otherwise, I believe that you should stay away from operating heavy machinery until that is sorted out. I speak for the kids who are just just learning to shoot, those who have yet to experience it, those who love it as I do, and everyone that is being affected. I speak for those that are passionate and for those who are hesitant to make their voices heard. I am speaking for those who do not have any say yet. I am 16 years old, and when I turn 18, I am prohibited from owning a firearm in my own name. This means if I want to train for the Olympics, shoot for a college team, or any other competitions, I would still need to rely on my mom if I remain a resident of the state. The passage of Bill 1160 is pushing young, responsible, and safe shooters, such as myself, out of the state. I am no longer looking at colleges in Connecticut. Lawmakers and legislators, look at me. I am a high honors student athlete whose passion and future is being jeopardized by your knee-jerk reactions and personal agendas. Not only am I the future of the state, I am the future of the country. My mom has often said to me, if not me, then whom? And if not now, then when? And so I ask you, why not me and why not now? I too am part of the movement, the overlooked and quiet part, who is now speaking out in hopes that I may break the mold and inspire you to do the right thing for my future and for the futures of those after me. Thank you.
Thank you, sunshine. We need some sunshine. Thank you, sunshine. We need some sunshine. 'Cause it's cool. June Shu, are you here? Where's June Shu? June Shu. There she is. We have the elite plaintiff right now in Shu versus Malloy here today.
God bless you.
Hi, crowd. You look wonderful. Thanks for coming. You know, I'm going to make this brief. And just let me say this. I don't like being classified a felon by a government that has no right to do so. And neither do you. I'm the Shu in Shu versus Malloy. Is that better? Okay. And I'm going to play, excuse me. I'm a plaintiff in this constitutional challenge for the duration, and we will contribute and direct our efforts to restore the Second Amendment to its complete and whole original meaning. I'm counting on you to be a part of that defense. And thank you all for coming. You're wonderful. I'll do my best for you.
Choo-choo, everybody. Also, let's give a shout out to her club, Medicon. They are tremendous fighters in this effort as well, and they have contributed immensely and continue to do so. And this is a long, drawn-out battle. This is not instant gratification. As much as I've been informed by our events coordinator, Chris Stovey, that he wants a Malloy Must Go chant. So let's indulge him. Malloy Must Go! 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 Malloy Must somebody that's been on the front lines of the liberty movement in Connecticut for a number of years, and he's coming up to make a speech right now. Please help me welcome Palin Smith.
Hello, I'm Palin Smith. I carry a fully loaded, high-capacity digital camera. I hunt gun grabbers. My trophy case is on YouTube. This sign has been in all 169 towns in Connecticut. You can just go and look for John McKinney Must Go. You will see it in every single town.
Yeah. Right.
And I'll bet many of you have already seen my work on YouTube. Well, I'm here for another reason. I've got a message for you today. How many have seen the movie Braveheart?
Yeah.
Do you remember the torture scene near the finish? William Wallace wants to speak. What is the one word you will never forget?
Freedom!
What?
Freedom!
Freedom! Yes. That was William Wallace's last word. Don't let it be our last word. Let it be your first word. Say it loud and say it proud. Freedom! Wallace was betrayed. We were betrayed by people we thought were our friends. We must not allow them to further eviscerate the Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
A year ago, a Connecticut patriot named Boomer Steed said the following at one of the gun hearings. The Constitution did not guarantee public safety. The Constitution guaranteed liberty.
Yeah.
And who are the guaranteers of the Constitution?
Yeah.
We the people.
We the people!
And
We the people!
we the people.
We the people!
And that's us. Not the Saudi blokes who play solitaire in this building. Not the governor who gloats at public meetings. And not the people who don't give a damn. I'm an original Tea Party organizer from 2009. We have a 3-word slogan often used when recruiting newbies. Educate, motivate, activate. We are surely motivated today because that's why we're here. How many people are from outside of Connecticut? One more show of hands. I have an assignment for you when you go home today. Find out who your state representative is and your state senator. Find out how they voted on SB 1160. When you find out, you will be educated. Educated and motivated. Now I want you to take the third step and become activated. Volunteer for a campaign of a candidate running against a gun grabber. We must not choose between voting for a Democrat gun grabber and a Republican gun grabber. Don't let somebody else do your homework for you. There are candidates here today who are not oath breakers. Find them, volunteer for their campaigns, contribute in some way. Make sure you test the candidates before you trust them. Your litmus test is these 3 words. Think freedom first. Make sure your choice of a representative will not vote to diminish your freedom in any way. Think freedom first. My favorite founding father was Samuel Adams. My favorite Adams quote is the following. It does not require a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority keen to set brush fires in people's minds.
Are we irate?
Yes!
Are we tireless?
Yes!
Alas, we are a minority, but growing stronger every day. You can find my videos on the Palin Smith YouTube channel. Friend me on Facebook. We are arming ourselves with knowledge. Okay, you have your homework assignment. It's not tough like Common Core. Now get out there and light some fires. We are a militia of armed minds, and we've just begun to fight. Freedom!
Yes. Am I speaking with a sworn peace officer?
A who?
A sworn peace officer, somebody that took an oath to the Constitution?
No, I'm a receptionist.
May I please speak with a sworn police officer?
You're asking a whole lot of questions. How can I help you, ma'am? What do you want me to do?
I want to know, if it comes down to it, will the police go to my home if my husband refuses to give up a weapon that was formerly legal and now has been made illegal by a corrupt legislator? Will the police actually go to my home and threaten my family? Because I'm scared to death.
We don't threaten people, ma'am. That doesn't
If you're going with the force of government, that's a threat.
Ma'am, it sounds like you're anti-American. It sounds like you're anti-law.
I'm anti-American? No, I'm pro-American.
I cannot answer your questions.
I'm pro-American. Are you serious? You just called me anti-American?
No, ma'am.
Are you going to call me a terrorist now because I have questions?
I don't have time for this, ma'am. I don't have time for this. Now, if you don't want an answer to any questions, then I think our conversation is over.
I do want an answer.
I would suggest that you contact your attorney and have your attorney explain the laws to you and what your rights are and what you should do,
You're going to speak to me this way, someone that pays your salary as a resident of Connecticut?
I pay my own salary too, ma'am. I pay taxes probably just like you do.
You're a servant. You serve me. You don't serve the legislator, sir.
I serve everyone, ma'am. Everyone who lives in the
that's
state of Connecticut.
Right. That's right.
Including myself, ma'am.
You don't serve the legislator, sir.
I do, ma'am.
You have to decide what you're going to do when it comes down to it.
Okay, ma'am. This is not a conversation I'm going to have with you because really it's not your affair what I do and what I don't do.
Really? If you come to my home and threaten me with the force of government...
I would never do that, ma'am. I would never do that. Never come to your home, ma'am. Absolutely would not do that because I don't do that kind of work. So you don't have to worry about that at all.
Well, maybe not you, but the lower people under your ranks that you'll send.
Ma'am.
Okay. That's
we only enforce the laws that are broken, and if any laws are broken, we're sworn by the Constitution
well, remember
to enforce those laws.
Okay, remember the Supreme Court used to rule that black people were not human. Okay.
Ma'am, I think it's up to you to talk with your legislators and talk.
Well, the legislators don't listen. They don't listen.
There's nothing I can do about it, ma'am.
Yes, there is, because you can refuse to follow unlawful orders.
Okay.
If you can't do that, that means you're an enemy of America.
Okay, ma'am, I'm not discussing this with you. I think our conversation's over. I suggest you contact your attorney, ma'am.
So really, all right, just remember, okay, you're the servant, we're the masters, okay? And if you come to my home...
Ma'am. I'm the master. You're
really?
Absolutely right.
You're the master?
Thank you very much for your
no, you're the servant.
Ma'am.
You're the servant. We're the masters.
Yeah. Thank
you come
very
to my
much for your
home...
conversation, ma'am. Okay.
Speakers here from coming up next that are from out of state because they made the trek here today to support our rights and stand with Connecticut. So up next, Granite State Patriots, Jack Kimball. And by the way, real quick before I hand him the mic, Melody, where are you? Right here. All right, go ahead.
All right, get ready to rumble. About live free! Live free! Live free! You know, before I get into my comments, I want to talk about a little other kind of tyranny that we've been following up in New Hampshire. And I'm really sick and tired of what I've been seeing. So I want to ask Governor Duval from Massachusetts to free Justina Pelletier. That young girl has to go back to her parents. This is
a disgrace. You know, I had a rally last year. We called it Honor Your Oath. I tried to come up with something that had a common denominator, a theme that everybody could understand. And then it hit me. I'm a prior Navy guy, okay? I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. How many veterans are out here today? Shout out. There's the reason for your liberty and your freedom. The blood and the treasure that has been expended on behalf of all of us, by all of our military, present and in the past, cannot be forsaken, cannot be in vain. But the key thing is this. All of our legislators, state and federal, take a what? And take an oath to protect and uphold the Constitution of both their state and the United States of America. Law enforcement, local police, your sheriffs, your troopers, hell, even the firemen, they take a very similar oath to protect and uphold the Constitution. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, period. There is no gray area here. You don't get to pick and choose what part of the Constitution you want to uphold. You uphold it all. I watched in horror at what happened at Sandy Hook, as did all of us. I was in tears on my couch. And you know, sadly, the first thing I thought of was, you know what? Barack Obama is going to use this. He's not going to let any crisis go to waste. Shame on him. Shame on him for using dead children and the parents of dead children as props in an effort to put forth his ideology of gun confiscation. We live in the greatest country that God gave man. And we are not going to allow anybody to take our guns away. It isn't going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, I hear way too many commentary in the public, and even with some of the state reps in your state and mine, that talk about the Second Amendment like it's about hunting. They talk about the Second Amendment like the entirety of it is about self-defense. Surely that's important. But come on, the real reason the Second Amendment is second is because of its importance. It is there to protect the entire Constitution. It is the protector of it. The Constitution is the document upon which and the foundation upon which this entire country was built. We are not going to allow what is happening to continue any longer. The reason for the Second Amendment and the reason why we need high-capacity magazines and semi-automatic weapons is so we can fight off a tyrannical government and so we have compatible weapons. That's the reason for the Second Amendment.
Go from the rooftop!
Now let's be honest with each other. We have dropped the ball. The fact that these, and now many more of you have to get out here again. You have to make sure that every representative and every congressman that you vote for, that their first order of business is that they tell you they will uphold the Constitution and the Second Amendment of the Constitution. And I'm going to tell you something else. I'm a Republican, a conservative Republican. But I don't care about that anymore. Let's be honest. We have to start blurring the R and the D beside people's names and start realizing that we are all in this together. We are Americans, before we're anything else. And we better start acting like it. Time is running out. We're heading over a cliff. And if we're going to reel this back in, then all of you you have to stand tall. And by the way, I am, an advocate of having one of my favorite sheriffs in the United States of America, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, to take some posses and go down to Washington, D.C. and put this man in an orange suit. In fact, pink is his suit. Pink would look better. Sorry. And drag his butt out of that White House. This is a disgrace. The tyranny that we're confronted with, I never thought at the age that I'm at, that I would have to come out and speak to these issues. For that matter, most of you, I'm sure, never thought of it either. But you know what? It doesn't matter how old you are. It really doesn't. It's going to take, it took 3% back in 1776, and it's going to take 3% now. I look across the landscape here. I see people from all walks of life, all income strata. I see the veterans. I see the oath keepers. I see you guys. I see the 3%ers. I see all the Tea Party flags and the Gadsden flags. He's liking it. This is America. We're not the extremists. By God, if you believe in the Constitution, and you believe in America, and you believe in this republic, and you believe in small government, and people call you an extremist, then bring it on. That's what we are. We came here from New Hampshire, which, by the way, is the live free or die state. And we take that oath seriously. That's our motto. And when we came marching in today, we were deadly serious. We came to stand shoulder to shoulder with every Connecticut patriot, hell, even Canadians if they were here, but every Connecticut patriot that's here today. We are all in this together, and it's time we better all wake up in the United States of America to this fact. I will expect you, if we run into a problem, to come to New Hampshire and stand with us. In closing, I just want to say this. The day after Sandy Hook occurred, my 13-year-old, she's now 50, but my 13-year-old granddaughter came to my house. And she was upset, as any child of their age would be. And she said to me, Papa, my school has the same security system that Sandy Hook had, and that man just shot right through the door, went right in. And she said, we have the same security lockdown system. When we get in the classroom, when they put us down in the corner of the classroom and the door's locked, we always wonder what would happen if somebody came in with a weapon. And I said, well, what are you thinking you two do? And she says, well, I'm going to jump out the window. And I quickly said, but you're on the second floor. And she said, I know. So, 3 quick points. She said to me, and I asked her, what do you think should happen? She said, I think the teachers should be armed. I think they should protect them. 3 quick points. You want to end this tyranny, you want to protect the children. If you really want to protect the children, then you abolish gun-free zones in the United States of America. Thing you do is you arm and train willing teachers to defend the children. And the third thing you do is you put a sign over every entrance and exit that says, warning, if you intend to harm our children, you will be met with deadly force. I promise you, no one's going to come in that door. They won't come in. I leave you with this thought. My father fought in every major battle in the Second World War in the Pacific, and my wife's father landed in Normandy and fought all the way to Berlin. They did not do those things, and all the lives and treasure that were lost to have this happen in this country of ours. Are you up for the fight? Are you ready to get back? Then you all of you need to come out in droves and wipe out every single person that violated their oath of office in your state house. You get rid of this governor. You get rid of, I don't care, Republican, Democrat. If they voted or sponsored a bill that restricts your gun rights, you get rid of them and put people in that believe in this country and believe in the Constitution. Thank you for giving me the time today to spend with you.
Hi, I'm an extremist from New York, and I've got some friends with me. We're all extremists. If you're from New York, come on up and join us. In case you don't know, freedom doesn't stop at the state line. It goes all over. So we're going to teach you how we say freedom in the state of New York. Are you ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2. I hope you're ready. Because I got to tell you something. In New York, we know all about freedom. 1, 2, 3, freedom! Pretty wild, these New Yorkers. Let me tell you what happened to us in New York. Last year, our governor decided that he wanted to run for president. He wanted to be, that's right, we say boo, but we say a few other things with that. What he did was he enacted an unconstitutional law. I don't know about you, but I'm a constitutionalist. And I'm a proud constitutionalist. Under the cloak of darkness, without even reading a bill, under something they call a message of necessity. They signed the law, they didn't have a clue what it was in there. They didn't know what it meant, they didn't understand guns, they never carried it in their lives, they didn't know anything about it. They signed a law that said me and all of my extremists up here are now criminals. As I'm sure you're criminals too. Are you a criminal out there? Yeah. Are you a criminal? Yeah. You know what? I'm not. I am a law-abiding citizen. I am licensed to carry what's hanging on right here. And you are too, and they don't have the right to take that away from us. No way do they have the right. We will not comply. 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 I hope you got that point. We will not comply in New York State. Let me tell you something else. As of April 15th, those of us that own those black guns that are so scary, you know the ones that when you leave them at home they shoot people because guns kill? Those of us that are standing up here today will not register those guns. We will register our guns. No way will we do that. We will not register those guns. They're not illegal, they're undocumented. That's correct. They're undocumented. supposed to run in my bathroom, hope I have my cell phone, and call the cops. And I'm supposed to hope that the cops get there before the guy that's in my house to rape me breaks down the door and does what he wants to do. Well, let me tell you something. Doesn't work in my house. And he said to me, well then here's a better answer. Here's what you should do. You should keep guns all over your house. And in every gun you have one bullet. So on your way to the bathroom when he's chasing you, you run by and grab this gun and you shoot once. And then you grab the next one and you just keep shooting. And you know what I said to him? Hell no, buddy. I'm a one-shot woman. That first shot, he's down. Well, let me tell you this. I have more than one bullet in my gun. My magazine is loaded, baby. And I'm damn proud of that. And everybody in New York is doing the same thing. They're not going to tell us numbers. We're doing what we have the right to do. According to the Constitution, we are adhering to the Constitution of New York State. We are not adhering to unconstitutional laws. No way is that happening. So I'm going to ask you here today, as we came from New York to fight with you, I want to know how many of you are going to stand and fight with us. Stand and fight. Let me hear you. Stand and fight. 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 For all of our veterans out there, please raise your hands so I may recognize you. Thank you for your service to this great nation. Thank you. For all the women that are out there, raise your hand. And if you don't own a gun, what the hell is wrong with you? When you leave here today, you better get yourself somewhere and get a gun. Because it's your job to protect your family. That's what we're supposed to do as women. Not sit back, shoot one bullet and lock ourselves in the bathroom. Those days are over, my friend.
They never were.
Go out and get yourself a gun and take care of yourself. And you know what? You know that old song, Stand By Your Man? That's right. I stand by my gun and I protect my man. Just like every woman should do. You should do the same. So every good woman, that's right. All right, as we go back to New York, I want to let you know that we are here for you. New York came to fight for your rights. And we're damn proud to do it. So on our way out the door, we're going to tell you about my favorite word. You've already used it. What they tried to do to us in New York is they take the free out of freedom, and it worked with some people, so we have a lot of dumb people in New York State who don't understand our Second Amendment rights. And you're not fighting here for gun rights today, by the way. You are fighting for your constitutional rights. Don't forget that. Don't let them control the story. It is not gun rights, it is constitutional rights. And as New York wanders back across that border into tyranny, because we know who we are, we're going to leave you with this great word, and that great word is freedom. Let me hear you say it. Freedom! 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 Thank you, patriots. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody from New York who came out here today to stand with Connecticut.
Thank you, New York! Thank you, New York! Thank you!
Thank you for coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Virginia Citizens Defense League.
A few weeks ago, myself and my fellow West Virginia Citizens Defense League got in contact with a gentleman who saw him on a Facebook video standing up in front of his town hall saying he will not comply. There are silly rules in this state. We had to get come here a year ago saying that very same thing. We came up to support on behalf of our president, vice president of our organization, our Tom, and he's more to be here today. We took our time out of our lives, my son Joe, 4 years in the Marine Corps. Runs the gun shop, play ball, runs a landscaping business, now his prime time. We took time out of our lives to come up here, because this is important to us. We have to ourselves my son would come be here today. I've been to rallies before. This is his first political rally, and I guarantee you it won't be his last. Heard a lot of great speeches on what we can do. And one of the things that we're starting is get connection with the other groups in your state. Don't fight each other. Cooperate with each other to fight for all of our rights. Running for office and that kind of thing, you don't have a lot of money to contribute, go to your town hall meeting. There's all kinds of stupid crap in our counties that we have to tolerate. We're attacked at every single level. We want them to be afraid of us. I spoke at our town hall meeting, everybody ever even smoking ban, I don't even smoke. But I went up there to support those people and say, whatever you pass, I'm not going to comply with it. If you start telling them every day in every town hall across this country that we will not comply, they'll start to get the message. Anyway, thank you for support. We have West Virginia. We expect to see you all there.
I don't have time to get these guys up here, but thank you guys for making the trek all the way up here. Let's give them a shout out! I want to thank the National Rifle Association for helping promote this event, showing up here today, and helping to register voters. Again, on behalf of the Executive Committee of the Connecticut Citizens Defense League, we want to thank you guys for all coming out today. All of you from the other states that made it out here, from Melody Burns for coming down, for the folks from the West Virginia coming up, from people from all over coming and making it out here today. Please, as you depart, please, we met some candidates today. There are others out there. It is our duty, it is our obligation to help them get into office. We cannot let the opportunity go by that we now have. We need to support and stand by the officials that will carry on with our Second Amendment rights. So, again, on behalf of, in closing, on behalf of the Connecticut Citizens Defense League, we want to thank you all for coming out today. Thank you!
We're still alive. Hey everyone, just want to say, carry